Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of OHKOs Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a new Aegislash. And ladies and gentlemen, this new Aegislash is a Pokemon that we've been waiting for. It's a very good counter to what I'm imagining will be the very best Pokemon. So, let's start off with a basic, shall we? Although, before we get started, let's just mention that our translation does, of course, come to us from the lovely David Hockman over on Rappelman TCG on Facebook. So it's a stage 2 of 130 HP. We like 130 HP on a basic like Buzzwole, because lots of Pokemon hit for 120. Like, in fact, Buzzwole. We don't like 130 on a stage 2. This is a very low amount of HP. The retreat cost of 3 is very annoying because it means it's high, but not quite high enough to use buff padding. So, cheers for that. The resistance to fighting is great because you've got a bunch of Pokemon out there, like in fact Buzzwole, who with a Diancie Prism Star would get a KO, except your resistance saves you. And the weakness to darkness is, it's not perfect. People are going to be playing stuff like the new Spiritomb, but you've only got 130 HP. Most Pokemon, darkness ones at least, will be able to take you down. If we still had Zoroark, that would mean they'd get a KO very easily rather than being 10 short, but we don't. But you are a psychic Pokemon. It means you can use Malamar to accelerate energy, though you probably won't need to. It means you can use Spell Tag to get some cheeky damage on the board, but most importantly, it means you're hitting Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX for weakness. Which means that you are a great counter to, and you are incidentally a great counter to them. That looks like it's going to be the best Tag Team GX in the next format. It can use the attacks of any GX Pokemon on your bench or in your discard pile. So it can be a Reshiram and Charizard because it can still use stuff like Welder, but then you don't have the water weakness. It's Redonk. So Aegislash then, what does the ability do? Well, according to David, it reads, if this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack of your opponent's Pokemon, instead of discarding it, put this Pokemon and all previous evolutions into your hand, discard all cards attached to it. So you lose the tools, you lose the energy, but you gain the prior, or you keep at least, the prior evolutions. I love this. It just means you can keep this going. If you want to be cycling Aegislash, you can. We all used to use Splash Energy. And in fact, if you go a little bit further back, some of you will probably remember Rescue Energy from the Heart Gold Soul Silver era, which gave a very similar purpose. And both of these just put the Pokemon back into your hand when they were KO'd. And especially for someone like a Stage 2, Splash Energy saw play in Greninja. And the great thing is, you get all the previous evolutions. So, the hope here, the theory is that you've got one Doublade on the bench and one Honedge. And then your Aegislash gets KO'd, and then you can just bench your Honedge, use Doublade to evolve the Honedge on the bench, evolve the Doublade on the bench into an Aegislash, and essentially just keep doing this on a loop, so you've always got an Aegislash ready to go. That's how people used to use Splash Energy in Greninja, and that's how you can use it here. It basically means you've constantly got a Splash or Rescue Energy attached. Make no mistake about it, that makes it awesome. That means that, okay, maybe you've had to use Rare Candy to get the first one out, but you don't need to keep using Rare Candy here for Aegislash, because what you can do is constantly have a basic and a stage 1 on the bench. So you bench a basic, evolve the stage 1 into a stage 2, evolve the basics already there into a stage 1, and keep this going on a loop. You might have to use a Rare Candy to get the first one out just for speed, but after that you can manually evolve and you should be okay, and you're never having to worry about using something like a Rescue Stretcher. You're never having to worry about not having the Pokemon, because you will. And the great news is that because it's being KO'd at the end of your opponent's turn, there's no they're dropping a reset stamp to make you shuffle your hand back into your deck, draw a number of cards equal to your remaining prizes. None of that malarkey. No. Because they get the KO, it goes to your hand, then it's your turn, and you can lay them straight back down again. And this is an ability on an evolved Pokemon. You're just not really turning this off. Now, If it was a GX, your opponent could use Power Plant, but it's not. All they've got is a Slacking from Celestial Storm. And look, I showed you a new Slacking yesterday, which I think looks really good. And if you're playing that, maybe you play one of the ones like here that does block abilities. But outside of that, this ability is not being turned off. I adore this ability. I think it gives you survivability for days. And I think it means that you can realistically swarm the stage 2. You only need one of these a turn, and this guarantees that you can just keep getting it out. You can afford to be manually evolving through basic stage 1, stage 2 on the bench, because every single turn, you've got either not a Pokemon getting KO'd, so you've got an extra turn, or you get a Pokemon KO'd, but then you've got the basic, the stage 1, and the stage 2 ready in your hand. But that's not a reason to play Aegislash. It's a nice bonus, but the reason to play it is the attack. 1 colourless energy, meaning you can play it with whatever else you like. This attack does 10 damage for each item card in your discard pile. This attack cannot do more than 130 in this way. So, if you can add damage, so let's say you're in Expanded and using something like Choice Band, then you can break through the 130 ceiling, but in terms of item cards, you're doing 130, that's all you're doing. And it used to be that I would be going, well, you want to be throwing item cards into your discard pile, but then again, Garboda's rotating out when this comes out, or in fact the day before it comes out. So you don't need to worry your pretty little head about it. Garboda's not an issue anymore, and this is kind of like reverse Garboda. Now, you can only get up to 13 damage doing this, or 13 damage counters 130 damage, but crucially, this is pretty much what you need to get Mew Mew. Now, the astute amongst you might realise that, well, hang on a second, 130 hits Mew Mew for 260 with weakness, Wassy, it's got 270, and I'd go, yeah, but Shrine of Punishment's a thing. If you've got Shrine of Punishment down that turn, or if you've had it down at any point and put 10 damage down, make no mistake about it, this is a wonderful, wonderful counter. The fact that it's a stage 2 is awkward, and obviously we'd rather not have to play the stadium, but outside of Power Plant, there isn't really another stadium we know about at the moment that we really want to play anyway. So who really cares? The fact of the matter is, you've got a Pokemon that for a single colourless energy, i.e. it can fit into any deck whatsoever, gets a one-hit KO on what is looking like the very best Pokemon in the format. Japan at the moment, they've got a Frostlass that for a single energy can get a one-hit KO on a Reshiram and Charizard. Problem is, Reshiram and Charizard are now going to be able to play Mew Mew to copy Reshiram and Charizard and not care about Frostlass. Well, now you can be bringing in Aegislash and not care about Mew Mew. And look, against Mew Mew, you're getting free prizes. You will win this very, very, very quickly if they try and go aggro Mew Mew. Now, if you're not hitting a Psychic Pokemon for weakness, the damage here isn't quite as good, but you're doing 130. And 130 is generally what you need for those non-GXs. Buzzwole, if it was weak, probably need to use Buzzwole slightly less as an example, but come on, it keeps coming up in this video perfectly. But stuff like Granbull, I really like post-rotation, and I think that could work. People are playing Volcanion in Reshiram and Charizard decks. People are playing Zapdos in Pikachu and Zekrom decks. And all of these Pokemon are going down. You're going to get some non-GXs coming around like Vikavolt, for instance, that will be able to take a hit because they're sitting there rocking 150. But that's a risk you take. You need some other attackers. The fact of the matter is, against Tag Team GXs, you are comfortably 2-hit KOing. Against most non-GXs, you are 1-hit KOing, and the only Pokemon you really have a problem with is high HP non-GXs. Because something like Vikavolt, they'll 1-hit KO you, but you won't be 1-hit KOing them, you're losing that prize race. But if you're against something like Blacephalon, well, to be honest, they'll probably start attacking with Naganadel, so that's actually really annoying. But if they don't, you're KOing a GX, and they're not. Of course, you can always just trade 1 for 1 with Naganadel, run them out of energy, and then trade 2 for 1 for Blacephalon. If they're playing Rayquaza, you might not be 1-hit KOing, but you're still taking 2 prizes, so it's probably going to work out okay. And especially if you can get Shrine of Punishment to stick for a couple turns and get a cheeky KO, yeah, that's going to really help. I love that the ability lets you swarm this and get it out consistently. I love that it gets easy KOs on most non-GXs, and I love the fact that it is a wonderful counter to Mew Mew. I still think it's awkward being a stage 2, but as soon as you get going with this, you should easily have an Aegislash every turn. If you can just get a couple of Honedge down turn 1, and then evolve one into a stage 1 and rare candy the other, you should be fine for the entire game. It's just those first couple of turns. And it's not like you need to play much energy here. And then, of course, it's one colourless energy, so although this isn't going to be great against every Pokemon, good against a lot but not great against everything, play literally any other Pokemon you like, and then make sure that you just play the requisite energy. I adore this. I'm giving it 4 Wassies. I think it's really, really good, and I am convinced people are going to try and play around with this and try and make this work. But I want to know what you think. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.